Hello, everybody, and welcome live week 17. Former Los Angeles Rams Super Bowl quarterback, and alongside me, I have my good friend and a 20-year NFL legend, Hall of Famer, Los Angeles Ram offensive tackle, Jackie Slater. Jackie, it's good to be here.
That's a mouthful you just said there, young man.
It's been a long time, Jackie.
Yeah, I know,
20
man.
years.
My body is telling me about it right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Monday Night Football, Jackie. The Bills traveled to Cincinnati to play the Bengals, and we're here in the first quarter, Jackie. We have to talk about this game. It's a timeout. It's a delay in the game right now. There's been an injury.
Looks like quite a serious injury,
right?
too,
I think it back to his neck or something into his neck.
Wasn't a very big guy. That it was a defensive back, and he took on Higgins, who was finishing off a run, ran right into him, and the kid got up to his feet, and then he just collapsed back to the ground.
Right, he lost.
Really.
Devastating, Jackie.
It's devastating. You know, it's a funny thing, that's the second injury of this magnitude today alone. College football and pro football, where they had to cart a guy off of where he was in serious situation.
Yeah, right. This morning, I think, was it the LSU and the Purdue game, huh, Jackie?
The
players got hurt. And yeah, that's, when you play this game, a lot of times Leroy Kelly always used to say, this could be my last run.
Yeah.
You just never know when something like that's going to happen to you.
You don't, Vince. You don't. And, it's a mindset that I think not only offensive players, but defensive players as well. It's a mindset that you have to have relative to playing this game that allows you to play this game in the capacity that you really need to play it to be successful. And that mindset has to be that I'm going to play this play as if it's my last.
That's true.
And that's the only way you can do it. So I found that for me, as I went full bore, sometimes I got nicked up, but more often than not, the guys that I were getting after, particularly when I was hitting people on the move, Vince, they weren't expecting it. So I was there with a little bit more explosion and a little bit more impact than I think they were doling out.
And these guys today, Jackie, they're so big, they're so strong, there's so much attention to power and lifting and full year-round training, and and a lot of the artificial surfaces that they play on today too, Jackie. It's the surface makes you that much faster.
Absolutely, the traction. Yeah, it's all about the traction. Like I told you, Vince, I was a whole lot more sore, more beat up. I played better because I was more efficient with my footwork, and it was because of the traction of that surface. Yeah, but I was awfully beat up after I played on the artificial surface. Shoulders, neck, my back, my leg, everything was all beat up. It took me, to be honest with you, it took me a couple more days to,
and the longer you played too, Jackie.
Especially as I got older. It took longer to recover from a game that I played on AstroTurf.
Yeah, there's 5:58 left in this first quarter of this game, Jackie. This is both these teams are headed for the playoffs, and let's get everyone caught up to what happened. Joey Burrow took the opening drive and just went down and executed perfectly down the field, Jackie, and threw a beautiful pass to DeMar Chase. And he was hitting Higgins. He hit his tight end. You see the beautiful timing pass over the middle. And then in the touchdown he threw, Jackie, on the post route, Jamar Chase cleared underneath, and the receiver on top of him ran a post route, but he stepped back.
He got a little extra time.
Stepped back forward.
Bought a little extra time.
But perfect delivery. The ball placement was perfect. Timing was impeccable.
It was.
And then the Bills came down and drove the ball, Jackie, and Josh Allen drove the ball down to about the 5-yard line.
Right. That brings up a topic, Vince, for me, and I know you would know these things, but it seems to me that there's a couple of types of quarterbacks. When I compare Josh Allen to Joey Burrow, for example, I think both of them are good quarterbacks. Yeah. Both of them are the reason why their teams are where they are now and where they were a year ago. Right. But the difference, in my opinion, and you need to help me with this, Joey Burrow seems to have a lot more poise and determination about making plays from the pocket. I don't get the sense that they're building a read option run scheme around him like they're doing with Josh Allen. And I think Josh Allen now, he thrives on that opportunity to put that 240-pound frame of his on some of those little DBs and linebackers. But to me, the guy that operates cleanly from the pocket with the brilliance of a good quarterback that understands what's going on, that's the guy I want. That's the guy I want to block for.
That's really perceptive of you, Jackie. You to be able to evaluate these quarterbacks.
I only played with 21 different quarterbacks.
You ought to know.
Yeah.
Well, you know the importance of the pocket passer, Jackie, because you in perfection with the entire offensive line that we had with the Rams, they really knew how to protect, and there's obviously times when there's a breakdown, and that's, give the defenses credit. But when you have a quarterback that perceptively has anticipation, he anticipates the defense. He can see the blitz coming, Jackie, or he throws a side adjustment, or he knows when he has ample protection. He stays in the pocket. He doesn't run around. Some of these guys leave the pocket too early.
Take off too soon.
But Joey has a great understanding of route development, and that's what it takes. It really takes you to really understand what you're trying to accomplish on offense, who the receivers are that are involved in the pass route. I mean, you have 5 receivers at any given time. And so, and then, but they're very sharp at what they do.
Vince, there's another factor that I think we want to mention, and that is lineage. And you told me that Joey Burrow's dad and you went to college together.
Jamie Burrow.
And you also told me he was a defense guy, right?
He was.
And you told me also that this guy was a professional defensive coordinator at all different levels, all of his professional life, right?
Yes.
Now, wouldn't you just think? Now, I've seen you. Listen, let me finish.
Okay.
I've seen you as your grandson.
Yeah.
And I happen to believe that if your grandson keeps growing, and the good Lord bless him, he's going to be one heck of a quarterback because you're pouring into him. And I think, and with Joey Burrow, can't you just see his dad telling him where the fundamental weaknesses are in any coverage that he'll face?
Well, Jackie, just along those points, you mentioned players like that who are brought up with football. Look at Christian McCaffrey, his dad, great player. He grows up. Sean McVay with his dad, grandfather, that was the GM for the 49ers all those years. Do you think those guys are not going to go to the ballpark? Could they be involved?
And be asking questions?
Oh, I mean, when I look at a game with my grandson, I say, okay, Javi, there's a fire. Do you see the uncovered receiver out there? It's stuff that
you got him looking for that stuff already. What's he, 8 years old?
Yeah, he actually noticed before the announcer said it on TV, and then they came back the second play and they discovered they was open again. That was the touchdown pass that the Patriots threw.
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones didn't see it the first time, Jack, and neither did the announcers. The receiver was waving his hand like this, "Hey, I'm open." Now if that was Tom Brady, how many times he's just went up the line and yelled fire?
Absolutely.
And he throws the ball.
Absolutely. And that's where that's that category of quarterback. I was fortunate enough to play with a few guys like that. You were one of those type of guys. I didn't have to worry about you running all over the place because you couldn't run.
Right, exactly.
Well, but I didn't have to worry about it. You stood right there and you threw that ball all over the field. I never will forget the game you threw for the 500 yards. I got kicked out of that game.
Yeah, that was
unfortunately
that was against Dallas.
Yeah,
right? You remember?
But the point that I'm making, Vince, is the two.
No,
types
that was against Chicago.
It was against Chicago.
Chicago.
The two different types of quarterbacks that we're looking at marching towards the playoff is going to be interesting because there's a lot to be said about a guy like the big like Allen now, who in a gritty situation against a good defense will haul off and take off and run over a linebacker at 240 pounds and get up and still operate. There's a lot to be said about having a quarterback like that.
You raise another good point. I mean, look at all the teams that are in the playoff hunt, and the teams that have already been already in are the playoffs. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. We talked about Tom Brady. These are guys we were just talking about off camera. Patrick Mahomes. They're all pocket passers. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Matt Stafford. He went to the Super Bowl last year. So I mean, these guys operate where they know where pay dirt is. I mean, you have to operate because when you have receivers, Jackie, like Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, and that brings up a good point.
Cooper Kupp.
And we can get into that right now. I mean, who do you think the best wide receiver in football is?
Well,
today?
I mean, they keep showing up. And, there was a time.
You mentioned the two of them already.
Yeah.
They're on top of my list.
There was a time when the best offensive player other than a quarterback, the highest paid offensive player other than a quarterback was the running back position.
Was it?
Yes, sir.
Not receiver.
And not receiver. Now, the guys that can run down the field and make plays, get open and make plays. Those are the guys that are most coveted by teams now, because they know they have a direct and immediate impact on the outcome of games. And when you start talking about guys who you want, I mean, Devontae Adams over there at the Raiders. How do you not like him?
Oh, I like that.
And just think about him and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp is out right now with a high. He had to have a procedure, high ankle. But Cooper Kupp, in my mind, is still arguably the best receiver that I've seen in the last 5-10 years.
I would have to put him at the very top of the list, Jackie.
Absolutely. And he runs and he's not like, it's not like the guy runs a 4.45. No. The guy's a 4.6. He's a 4.65. 40 guys his fastest.
I think speed is overrated sometimes, Jackie, although, you know, it's something you can't teach. But when you have breakaway speed, or you know how to get open, a receiver needs to run a route against defensive backs. There's usually 5, 6, 7 defensive backs. You need to know coverage. You need to know where to run to get the ball. And you have to be on the same page with your quarterback.
This is where Cooper Kupp is second to none.
That's it.
Second to none.
And then after the catch, they call it yak. Yards after catch. It was like, wow. I mean, these guys can turn it on. And a lot of these guys playing tonight are good. Stephon Diggs, who you have to really like. You have to like Higgins, Jamar Chase.
The young kid up there at Minnesota.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson.
He's
my
special.
Goodness. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about tight ends, Jackie.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, we'll have to get into some of those guys
too. They got some good ones out there.
But, you know, we're still breaking here during the first quarter. 5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Cincinnati leads 7-3. Jackson, when we come back, we'll pick up some of the game. We hope the injury and to that one young defensive back is going to be okay.
Yeah,
but they have to take all precautions and get him off the field so he doesn't get hurt. So, but stay tuned. We'll be right back, and we'll talk more about the Monday Night Football game we're seeing live. Welcome back with Vince and Jackie. And as we looking at Monday Night Football, Jackie, this injury that happened to the defensive back on his tackle with Higgins, it didn't look like it was a flagrant hit. There was no flagrant hit at all. He just happened to tackle his receiver. And as he went down, I think the way he landed a little bit got stuck up in his neck or something. And then he had a problem breathing, Jackie.
It could have been a combination of the way he landed. But it has to have something to do also with the way he was engaged, because that big receiver. That was a big receiver.
Yes.
Higgins is not a small guy, and he was running pretty fast, lowered his shoulders, right shoulder, and just went right straight through him. And he popped up, but then he collapsed right after he stood up.
And they administered CPR too.
That's the thing that's
really
concerning.
Vince,
Vince,
maybe his breathing. It was.
Vince, this is the second time that we've had an injury of this magnitude today, where a young man had to be carted off the field, and we still don't know.
Well,
how bad this
is. They're going
is.
to postpone the game, Jackie, or going to continue to play it. It's really tough to see one of your fellow teammates and even a guy you're playing against. I mean, it is a physical game.
Yeah, it is.
But you don't necessarily want to go out and hurt someone, but you want to be very physical with them. But
are they going off the field?
I think they're walking off the field. I just don't know. I mean, physically and emotionally, I would have a hard time absorbing what just happened, and I can't continue to play with the same intensity level, I don't think, Jack.
And I'm going to tell you this, a couple of things that I see here. Number one,
everybody was.
I think this is a fantastic opportunity for us to share with Vince. You played the game a long time. You mentioned that I played 20 years professionally, but I also played 9 years prior to my professional career.
Yeah.
And the thing that I always was amazed about was how much joy the physical pain and agony of preparing to play this game brought to the fans. Mm-hmm. The fans look and they see this game and they look at us athletes, they see us run and they see us catching the ball, throwing the ball, all of that, and they enjoy watching us compete. But what I don't think fans really realize, first of all, the work that has to go into being a good football player, and then the risk that is associated with playing this game, Vince.
Right.
Vince, I have seen guys bust up their ankles and their legs turn sideways.
Yeah.
I've seen guys snatch off their shoulder pads with holes in their pecs, where their pecs detached from their sternums, and it just rolled up to the outside towards their armpit.
I've seen compound fractures.
Compound fractures.
And one leg goes, and just broke right in half.
Yeah, and the thing about it, Vince, is when you see those kind of grotesque injuries, what it has a tendency to do is make you not want to play. Yeah. It makes you want to shy away from the game. And that brings me to the resolve that I was sharing with you a minute ago. The resolve has to be, when you play this game, that you're going to play it 100% full bore, get after it every second that the whistle has not blown, and then pray that that's not going to be, pray that's not going to be your last game, your last play, because you could get hurt at any particular time, Vince. And I have seen guys have devastating injuries that were just flopping around. They weren't trying to finish their block. They weren't trying to run through and finish their tackles. You can't do that. You got to finish. If you're going to play this game and the good Lord bless you to walk away healthy, a big part of it, in addition to the good Lord keeping you healthy, is you protect yourself. Yeah. And you have to protect yourself by playing this game hard and with a vicious mindset. That's the way this game was intended to be played.
Yeah, and Chuck Knox used to say, Jackie, the late Chuck Knox, and when he coached the Rams, when we played, he says, you have to play to the echo of the whistle.
To the echo of the whistle.
And some of the plays that happen out there, someone just an innocent bystander, the play is almost over and you relax, and that's when you get rolled up on.
That's absolutely.
You're not finishing the play to the end. And, you hate to see any injuries happen like this, but, it's just – injuries are part of the game, but I don't know if it is the surface they're playing on, or as we mentioned, Jackie, about preseason games. Today we don't see a whole lot of the stars playing in preseason, because maybe of injury or how they practice during the year. They don't get enough full gear practices as we do. And I don't know if it's benefiting the players. I think hard work is the only way to go. And you want to play against someone that prepares the same against you, so that when you go one-on-one, it's violent, but it's competitive,
right?
And it's good competition.
And Vince, I've seen the way the union and the league have negotiated contracts over the years. I've watched them closely, and I've seen the union's position over and over and over again to protect players. Yeah. Their job is to protect players and look out for their best interests financially. Yeah. The safety on the field. This is their job. Mm-hmm. And the league, they want to put out a competitive football team. They understand the violence associated with their great game, and they don't want to see that diminished. So there's a meeting of the mind that has to take place. Now, I happen to believe that meeting of the mind that's taking place right now is really, in the players' mind, is benefiting them because they don't have to do as much. They don't have to play. We used to play 6 preseason games. Now they play 3, but the starters don't play at all. So what does that say? I know how I felt in my 2nd, 3rd, 4th year as a starter, Vince.
Yeah.
If I didn't prepare, if I didn't play in the preseason games, a part of those preseason games, then I was going to get off to a horrible start at the regular season. It's a necessary evil.
Yeah, that's true.
So in this regard, the collective bargaining agreement has put the players, in my opinion, in a
vulnerable position.
Yes, because you can't go in the weight room, and I've tried it. You can't go in the weight room. You can't go and run. You can't go and lift any of those things, Vince, to simulate what it's like to sit there in front of a guy like Howie Long who's trying to take your head off with great technique.
Right.
You have got to be you got to be technically sound to deal with him, but you have to have some physicality to bring to the table in order to be successful.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the things that I would like to see this is the other thing, Vince, and I didn't mention this, but if you got a guy that's making $16 million a year and you think he's that good, and he's playing your blind side tackle position, and you know that because of the salary cap, you can't go out and buy another $16 million a year tackle, then you're less likely to push him, want him to be competing other than times when it really matters. And so this is a problem.
It's a double sword.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, you know what? I would rather use the preparation and full-on preparation to protect, himself, not only himself, but also protect the quarterback too. And so I don't think when you try to alleviate that or lighten up on somebody, you might be doing a disservice to the player.
You are. You would have been doing a disservice to me if you had not let me play in the preseason games. Yeah. And I
same with the quarterback too, Jackie.
I feel like it was a necessary evil. Had to happen.
Well, there's been a delay in this Monday Night Football game in the first quarter. The injury happened to DeMar Hamlin, who was a defensive back for the Buffalo Bills, and attempting to make a tackle on a receiver crossing the field.
On Higgins.
And so both teams have left. They suspended this game indefinitely, Jackie, and maybe everybody has to go back and just recollect. Hopefully they'll have some good news from the ambulance who's taking the young man to a hospital, and hope he's going to be okay. So we'll pray that he's going to be all right. But let's go back real quick, Jackie. Talk about this last week in Week 17, some of the games before we take a break. There were a lot of great games played this weekend. Jackie, a lot of good football. I have to tell you, you were great on your picks this week. You were 13 and 2.
Yeah, we both were.
We both tied.
It was a good week.
We have the same team tonight too, Jackie.
There's a lot to be said about teams and playing with momentum and going into the playoffs down the stretch. There's a lot to be said about that. That's a little bit more predictable.
How about those Philadelphia Eagles, Jackie? We both picked that team to win, and they've lost 2 in a row now without Hurts in the game.
Without Jalen Hurts.
That's how much a quarterback means to a team.
Absolutely, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, remember the guy had 100 yards rushing. I mean,
in the first quarter.
Yeah, in the first quarter. I mean, he's a really charismatic guy. I understand, though. You don't see it. But I understand with his teammates, he's real charismatic, and guys really enjoy being around him. That says a lot.
Minshew did a pretty good job at backing him up too. But the Jaguars only scored 10 points against the Saints. He beat them 20-10. You wouldn't figure.
No,
I mean, we both figured that could be a pushover game. But
absolutely,
that's why you never know.
You never know. It's the National Football League.
That's right.
Everybody shows up to play.
Well, how about the Jags? They win 31-3 over the Texans. Jackie, big game.
I can't. Doug Peterson. I'm sitting in the bleachers when Doug Peterson came up with the what did he call it? The Philly Express or something like that, where he threw the quarterback, threw it to Nick Foles over there.
That was a great play in the Super Bowl.
It was a great
Patriots.
play. And I'm thinking, how does this guy not be coaching? And when I saw him get hired at Jacksonville, I remember thinking to myself, well, that team is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And you couple the fact that you have a really smart guy, a really smart coach that is a leader. And then the fact that Jacksonville hadn't been winning a lot of games over the years, Vince. So consequently, their draft picks were higher.
Yeah, they're
So
getting some quality players.
They have got a
Yeah.
bunch of big time
Yeah.
players, you know, in ETM, the running back.
Can you believe it? He was great at Clemson.
Yeah, but he got hurt last year.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, he got hurt last year,
right.
and then back this year. And so you couple a good back, a good quarterback, a decent offensive line that they've invested in, all that defensive personnel they have on the defensive side of the ball over there. It's just hard to imagine them not winning like they're doing right now.
He played with Trevor Lawrence, just like Joey Burrow played with Jamar Chase. You know, they both teammates at LSU. So there's something to be said about having that connection, you know, especially the guys that are, you know, pivotal and the guys that are in those type of skill positions.
Right.
But of all the games, there were some blowouts, Jackie, but the close game was, again, the 49ers. They played toe-to-toe with the Raiders. But Derek Carr is out. And Stidham, who was with the head coach in New England. But let's talk about Derek Carr for a second, Jackie. He was replaced by Stidham, who came in, but he left the team.
I don't understand.
Not to be a distraction. What
why?
In the world? I mean, are you deserting your the guys that you?
I do not. I mean, the biggest distraction occurred when he decided not to be the backup. So I'm assuming that he was relegated to the backup position.
He was pretty much benched.
He was pretty much
his
benched.
Performance wasn't up to par.
His performance wasn't up to par. So what does that mean? Does that mean that because you're not starting, you're going to take your ball and go home?
Yeah.
I hate to think it was that way. I'm hoping that there was some other reason why he left.
I can't think of any, Jackie. I just don't. I wouldn't desert.
Well, I can think of a possibility, and that possibility would be this, Vince. He could have some sort of a clause in his contract that says if he gets injured, he's guaranteed X amount of dollars. And if that in fact is the case, and the team plans to move on from him, they don't want him on the premises. They don't want him in the facility because he could go over there and lift weights. He can go over and drop a dumbbell on his toe or in his or any number of things, and he's injured on that facility.
Can you create your own injury? Is that
well, I mean,
some of these guys are doing that now. You know,
there was a time, Vincent, you and I were talking about this not long ago, where guys would, all of a sudden be play absolutely and you know, I hate to say this, but that those faked injuries were done in conjunction with the organization's desire to take those guys and put them on a certain list that they could be kept on the team. So we have to deal with the facts the way they were, Vince.
I know it. Well, you know, when we talked about the Eagles too, Jackie, you know, they lost 2 in a row and they lost that game to the Saints. I mean, have we lost confidence in the Eagles? Are they the best team in the NFL?
You know,
NFC.
This is what I saw.
They have the best record.
When I watched the games, the last couple of games, Vince, I think the difference has truly been at the quarterback position. That's
Jalen Hurts.
That's where
obviously made a big difference.
This guy was, in my opinion, he had to have been in the running for consideration for MVP.
Sure,
there's no doubt about it. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to take that kind of a presence, that kind of a performance, and then not have it, and you expect the team to function the same? No, it's not going to happen. The decisions made from that critical quarterback position were not being made by the guy that's backing him up. Now, the other thing that's interesting that may give Eagle fans hope is the consistency with which they were playing on the line of scrimmage and with their backers, all the skill guys. Those guys they were frustrated because balls weren't getting to them and everything, but everything else was, the only thing that was missing was Jalen Hurts.
Well, when you have that guy at the controls, Jackie, he's punching the right numbers because he can run the ball. He has great feel. The offensive linemen like the way he operates back there, and he's been actually very accurate throwing the football from the pocket.
Yes, he has. In fact, that's one of the things that I like about him relative to a lot of the quarterbacks that have
runners first.
Who are runners first. Right. They'll stand there and they'll look, boom, boom, and then they take off. Okay. Yeah. This guy would look, boom, 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 and then he'd take off. Unless he saw DBs running away from him with the back to him, he'd take off on that too. But he just seemed to be a guy that's committed to beating you from the pocket. Yeah. That's what I like about him.
Well, move on to the Rams. We have a caller online. Ryan. Oh, okay. Eagles fan. All right. Okay. So, Ryan. Hello, Ryan. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. How are you guys?
Oh, good.
Fine,
good,
Ryan.
Good. So you have a question for us regarding the Philadelphia Eagles, I guess. You're a big
I
fan?
do. You guys have longtime players. You know what it's like. And so going into week 18 here with Jalen Hurts, less than 100%, even though the Eagles locked up a playoff spot, do you start him to clinch the overall seed, or do you take your chance with Gardner Minshew again?
Well, I would start off by answering it this way. I mean, that's their last game. They've got to play. Who's their last game against? Jack, the Giants. And, both of those teams have already clinched a playoff berth. So I think going into that game, if they are the number one seed, if they win that game, then he'll get the extra bye week. I would only play Jalen Hurts if he's ready to play. And it looks as
Absolutely.
if, seeing him on the sideline last week, Jackie, it looks like this will be the week he'll come back, because I'd like to see him. I'm sure he would want to play one more game
before he
goes
into
into playoffs.
Absolutely. And I agree with that 100%. What Vince said, you don't want to, this guy, and I'm sure you will agree, this guy, his name was being mentioned for the league MVP this year, with the way that he was leading this team, with the way that he was playing. And I don't think would be much argument about that. There's a couple other guys, but this guy was clearly playing at a level that warrants consideration for the MVP. Now, you got to also think that this team has been built and is structured right now to get into the playoffs and go deep, perhaps even to the Super Bowl and win it. So if Jalen Hurts is in fact the key component that you're missing right now, and you know it as a coaching staff, as teammates, as players, this guy is key, then you want him to be back when he's well. You don't want him coming back, half winging it and everything. You want the guy playing with physical and mental confidence that he's been doing all season long. So I'm not concerned at all if he doesn't play this week.
So did we answer your question, Jason?
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan, I'm sorry.
I think so, guys. I guess the biggest thing is, just a follow-up is, how important is that number one seed going into the playoffs?
Well, I think it's fairly important. I don't think it's the most important thing. I think it's more important how your team is playing in December and January and headed into the playoffs. But that number one week gives you that extra week of preparation to look forward to your opponent. The team that's going to be playing that number one seed, Jackie, only has 1 week to prepare, which is enough. But if you have that 2 weeks, you can see that extra week of preparation obviously is a big advantage for that team.
And then everybody usually are peaking, playing their best football around the playoffs time. But when you think about it, the number one seed doesn't get the number 2 seed or the number 3 seed or number 4 seed. He gets the doggone number 7.
That's right.
He plays
the worst team.
He plays the worst team that's playing football. So the reason why they're the worst team that's playing football is because a whole lot of other people beat them. And I'm sure the number one seed and their coaching staff are chomping at the bits to get to them. So I think the number one seed is critical.
Yeah, and
it's critical, and I think it's possible. And I think if they get it, they're going to hold on to it, and they want Jalen to be healthy to take advantage of everything that means.
Well, Ryan's a big Philadelphia Eagles fan, Jackie. So, I mean, they have about as good a chance of getting to the Super Bowl as any team.
Absolutely.
Because the way they've played this year. And the reason why I say that, Ryan, is because the way Nick Sirianni has developed that team, given them confidence, they're running the football. They're very adept at that. They play great against the run on defense. Their defense is making plays. They're playing special teams. They have the whole thing in place.
They got everything.
Just comes down to, do you have those players that are really going to fire on all cylinders when the big show comes to town?
And then another
big game.
Another thing, Ryan, that you have to consider with your being a Philadelphia Eagle fan is that the quarterback that we're waiting on to get right, this guy is not afraid of the big lights. He has played under the lights in big time situations at big time programs. He knows what it feels like to win a national championship. He knows what it's like to be in a drive for that national championship with some good coaches bringing him in support, both as a player and all the support he needs information-wise to make the decisions that he'll need to make. So this guy is a very poised competitor that I happen to believe that is underappreciated. That's my opinion.
Well, when the lights are the brightest, Jackie, that's when the quarterback stands out the most. And I think when you look at who's in the NFC, you see Aaron Rodgers, you see Tom Brady. Those two guys have made a living in the 2-minute
For a
drill
long time.
For a long time, and when the lights shine the brightest, they play.
They play the best
football.
They play the best.
So it's we'll have to wait and see. But good luck to your Eagles this year. I think they got as good a chance as anybody making it to the Super Bowl.
I do too.
Thanks for calling, Ryan. Hopefully,
thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
You too.
Take care.
Happy New Year.
You too.
Those are some great questions that he had. And like I said, we encourage our fans to call in and talk, because you see the questions that young man asked. That's an informed fan.
Right.
That guy is watching this team. He loves this game. Obviously, he's seen what Jalen has done for the team this year,
and how they would perform
and
without
he
him.
knows they're on the verge of being the number 1 seed. So he wants information, man. This guy, any little bit of information that he gets from us or our opinion, it settles him a little bit.
Jackie,
I can understand that.
Another game that we didn't talk about is the Rams Chargers.
Oh,
they played at SoFi, and it was the Chargers' home team. That's their both home stadium, Jackie. And that game was kind of a blowout, 31-10. But I'm gonna have to tell you that we talked to Rob Havenstein, and Jackie just inform the viewers what they have in store.
Well, we had a big Rob Havenstein. I've been watching him ever since he came to this team. He's 6'8", 332 pounds. He is the anchor of this offensive line right now, because I think he's the only guy that has started and played every game this year. And we wanted to find out. I wanted to find out from him how he was dealing with the challenge of playing next to a different guy every other week, and then having their offensive line get to where they actually are playing better right now. They are playing some of their very best football. And
because you see the way they're running their offensive attack on the ground game.
Absolutely.
They're having changing line blocking.
They're
schemes,
doing a lot of different things.
Pulling tackles.
By the way, did you see Rob Havenstein? He comes over on a tackle trap, kicks the guy out, right up the middle. He goes for a touchdown. So one of the things that I think has excited them and has brought this Ram team back to a competitive nature, in spite of the fact that they've had a lot of movement in the offensive line, is the variety that they're given. They're having to learn new things. They're having to see the advantage of running plays that, maybe some other
stretch play. I mean, you got to have more runs than just that.
You got to have more runs than that. And they're doing it. I've seen counters, I've seen traps, and I've seen different people inserting on the counters. They pull the backside tackle and guard sometimes. Sometimes they lead the tackle and they pull the guard and wrap an ace back.
They're doing more things they should be doing.
They're just doing a lot of things. And it makes for – see, the thing about it is the defender is sitting there and he's reading. And you see you step over there, he plays that. You see you step over there, he plays that. Now all of a sudden –
he's going to get confused.
Now all of a sudden you're doing –
fake step here and go that way. And he's a little confused. He can't get off the ball.
And you know what, Vince? This is something that should have been occurring with the Rams offensive line from day one.
Well, they're going to hear about it on our interview that we had with Rob. We're going to get a little teaser on the break, Jackie. And
that's right.
They can stay tuned and watch the entire interview after our show.
That was a great interview, wasn't it?
Yeah, but we'll have to talk more about that later. But we'll have to take a quick break here, and we'll get back to that Monday Night Football game. So stay with us.
Me that your leadership has been critical as you have weathered these storms with 14 different lineups. How has that been? How taxing has that been for you this year?
Yeah, it's something that I've never really had to deal with. My whole time here with Sean, I've always had Andrew, a guy like Andrew Whitworth to kind of lean on and, have him kind of take the spotlight and everything like that. And so there's definitely a learning curve. Something that, obviously like people have leadership qualities, but there is something to refining being a leader, stepping into a different role, having a C on my chest now and being kind of, with the likes of guys of, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Bobby Wagner, like guys who've been doing it for a long time for, best of the best. And then, honestly trying to learn off of them about what it takes to be a true leader of a team, leader of an offense, leader of a defense, rather than just kind of have the guys in the room kind of know who you are, how you really lead. It may show a little bit here and there, but it's it's now truly on kind of like a team stage, and so it's definitely been a challenging year. But I think for me, it's learning from a guy like a Bobby Wagner and kind of seeing how he goes about his business, and you talk about the level, the Mr. Consistency, and that's 100% him. He showed up every single game. His juice is the same, and it's never fake. And that's one thing I've always said. You can't fake energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because when it comes,
Rob, you've got some fantastic examples of leaders on that football team. I think they strategically have been signed in part because of their leadership abilities, but don't ever let anyone tell you that performance doesn't lead as well.
Exactly.
Consistency at your job is critical, and that's what you have been. You have been very consistent at your job and done it very well. Right. One of the things that I have wondered about as I have watched you over this season, one of the things that I have wondered about is how I played with 21 different quarterbacks over the 20 years that I played, and they all had their different little idiosyncrasies that made them different, not necessarily special, but it made them different. You, this season alone, have had the unique opportunity to block for 2 first overall draft picks at the quarterback position. And I see the similarities, but there got to be some differences. Have you noticed any that make it that jumps out at you?
Yeah, Jack, you hit it right on the head. Everyone's got little different things that they like to do, drops that they have, where they, I guess, like to drift, what happens when the play goes bad, if protection breaks down, like kind of where is their immediate reaction to go, or is it purely based on the play? And so everyone's got their different things. And, obviously kind of having to jumpstart that with Baker a little bit, shook his hand on Tuesday, played on Thursday, and I think I remember.
That was a whirlwind.
That was a whirlwind. I remember asking him on the sideline, I was like, hey, what's your comfortable drop? Like, where do you like to get to? And so just kind of, working that on the fly. And then you throw a John Wolford in there and having to block Bryce Perkins, obviously not first round draft picks, but still quarterbacks we played with this year. And so everyone does stuff a little differently, and everyone feels comfortable with different things. And so it's really trying to take those practice reps of almost trying to manufacture a situation that'll happen in the game and kind of see how the quarterback reacts a little bit, just so you can go ahead and bank that knowledge. So when it comes nut cutting time in game, where you can kind of, exactly, or you have a good idea of where that guy's going to be.
Right. Now, Vince, I know Vince is chomping.
Back to OnPoint Live with Vince and Jackie, and we've had some we haven't heard the details of the injury here on the Monday Night Football game with Damar Hamlin, but I understand his family's with him, Jackie, and he's been close by, and everyone's just on pins and needles. Everybody in the stadium is just so quiet, and just a gut-wrenching feeling in my stomach to see something like this happen.
It really is.
During a game, during an NFL game, let alone any game, for a kid to have been in CPR for 9 minutes. I just feel so bad.
Yeah.
I just don't know. What you mentioned, something, it was a contusion or a blow to the chest that maybe
what I'm thinking
stopped
is
his heart.
blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma.
You remember Cher's husband, Sonny?
Yeah, Sonny Sherry.
Remember,
It was a skiing accident.
It was
He
a skiing
hit a tree
accident, and he hit a tree
and died. Yeah.
And my understanding was they had a heart attack and died. Now, let's just hope and pray for the best. There's a lot of standing around and milling around. And
he was 24 years old, Jackie, and a 6th-round pick this year from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Just in his second year, it looks like, huh?
He left the stadium by ambulance, and they're rushing him to the hospital. So hopefully he's
let's just hope he's
okay.
Damar Hamlin. Yeah. Let's just hope and pray that he's going to be all right. And the good Lord blesses him to get through this. This is a very, very difficult time, I'm sure, for his family.
Yes.
For the fans, they're in Buffalo. All of his friends, his teammates are traumatized right now as well. Yeah. This is something that, in the 20 years that I played, Vince, I never had an injury that's this serious.
Right. Yeah.
And I can't honestly say that I remember a whole lot of the injury. I remember the young man that played with the Patriots was paralyzed in a
Darryl
game.
Stingley?
Yeah, Darryl Stingley.
Yeah, against the Raiders.
When he was hit there against the Raiders.
Right.
It's
you might hurt your appendage, or a knee, or a shoulder, or, you hurt your back of some sort, your ankle, high shin sprain, or something like that. But when it involves the heart, and you just prepare so hard to do this, and everyone takes a physical before the season starts, Jackie, and they're all in great condition. A lot of these athletes,
physically, cardiovascularly, these guys are usually in great shape.
Sure.
Even the big guys, you would be surprised at how many 350-pound men can go out and run a mile and a half in 8 minutes, 9 minutes, because they have to condition themselves to be that way. It's just a part of the game. You couldn't play this game continuously, snap after snap after snap, 2-3 series in a row without being in excellent physical, cardiovascular shape.
Yeah. Well, I can just imagine what the players are going through right now. It's almost hard to even fathom of competing now when something like this happens. Yeah. It's an immediate reaction that you have that you can't explain. It's just you just feel bad. It's a gut-wrenching feeling that you have no more motivation. It's just like I just want to be with this guy. I want to
sit down and just watch, and hopefully he's going to be all right. Let me see it sparkle in his eyes. That's what what I'm sure most people around him are thinking right now.
Well, this comes at a time, Jackie. In January, we're celebrating our new year, and moving forward, the NFL has been such a great game for all of our fans, and the people who've played in it, and the friendships you make, through this great game that we have. And, you compete at a high level. And so now, as the teams prepare for their last week of the season, we have to look back on this entire season, and 17 weeks. Did it go by fast, or did it take forever? It just seems like it just takes longer and longer each year. What's your impressions of this year, Jack? Did the season seem like it took forever? And do you like the 17 game schedule?
This is what I know, Vince, and I don't have to ask anybody this. Yeah. This is what I know. Football is a very demanding game. Mm-hmm. It's a very physically demanding game, and I think the preseason games, when the games really don't matter, are the times that the teams need to invest in developing developing their players so they can handle the rigors of the sport in the regular season. Now, what we
and
have seen,
and that means starters as well as
that means
backups.
everybody.
To evaluate. Not only you're evaluating talent, but you're preparing for the regular season.
Absolutely.
That's so bearing like this.
Absolutely.
It's a long season.
To me, Vince, I can't imagine over half of my career, so a decade, I couldn't imagine having had the kind of season that I really wanted to have if I did not go out and have some serious playing time in the preseason.
Yeah.
So number one, I think that's going to hurt the game. Not managing the preseason in such a way that everybody gets used to dealing with the rigors of the sport. The next thing is, Vince, I don't know that I could expect. I don't know that we should realistically expect any one team in the National Football League's offensive line or any group of players that they have to stay healthy enough to compete in 17 straight weeks. See, the other thing about this is they took those games from the preseason and they added them to the regular season. In the preseason, while you're getting guys ready to deal with the rigors of the sport, Vince, and you're taking them out of the lineup. You're serving up a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. But if you're going to take that extra game and move it to the regular season, now it's full bore.
Right. It's not
get after it.
Right. It's not limited.
For 17
limited
weeks.
action.
That's
It's
another
full
game.
Go. Right.
Not only have they not developed the cardiovascular endurance and the blunt force trauma actually that you need to get used to in the preseason, but now you're asking them to get used to it in the regular season when they haven't developed it, and then an extra week. To me, Vince, I think if there's one thing the NFL and the Players Association need to rethink, that's it.
I would have to agree. I would almost have to see them retract the 17 game, even though it's interesting. It's interesting right to the last week, Jackie. And
the fans,
you keep people in suspense.
For the fans.
But is it worth, the great players that we see in the great game that it is to see it continue to proliferate, to become even better and better? I would almost think they'd have to go back to a 4-game preseason and then go back to 16-game regular season. I hate to say that retracted.
Hey, Vince, how about this?
Yeah.
These are the numbers that tells you that something needs to be done. In 1976, you had to be on an NFL roster 5 years to get a pension. Shortly after that, you had to be on an NFL roster.
Hey, Jackie, we're getting a call
4
I think,
years
over here.
Okay, well, we'll take that.
Let's see if we have a caller here that wants to.
We'll finish
get
that.
on. We'll get our producer over here. Yeah,
we'll finish that subject, Vince.
Yeah, I mean that always brings up a New Year's resolution. You have any New Year's resolutions, that Jackie, for next year? And I think maybe, especially for the Rams. I mean, what do the Rams need? I would.
We'll have to get towards that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
So who do we have calling in? And
we're gonna find out here in a
on
minute.
Point Live with Vince and Jackie.
Yeah, it's had some great games though this weekend, but again, the Monday Night Football game were temporarily suspended in the first quarter, Jackie, and I don't know
that this game will be finished.
I think they're going to have to postpone this game. And do we have?
Hey,
oh yeah, good. Who do we have on the line here?
It's Dave again.
It's Dave.
Hey, Crazy Dave.
Hello, Dave. How are you? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that.
Right.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, you guys. But I want to call and be fun as always, but I don't think I can do that tonight.
Right. I know. You're watching the Monday Night Football game.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. It's hard to look at this game and think about the players. I mean, there's tears flowing on.
Well, so they haven't announced anything yet, and everybody's speculating that he may have died. But so we don't know that yet, and obviously we hope. But what does this do for football if this is the first time somebody dies on the field?
Well, that's what we were talking about, Jackie. I've never seen a player go down and pass away on an NFL field.
I've never seen this.
We've had major injuries with paralysis. But nobody's ever died. It's just, I hope. Obviously, we hope it doesn't happen. But how would this change the game?
Well, I think the National Football League's fans their fan base is their fan base. And
Right.
it would rock the fan base somewhat to know that it happened and everything. But the people in our society that are looking at this game, that are going to take it very seriously and view this in a different way, are going to be the moms, particularly the moms of young boys who aspire to play this game.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine, what it would be like a mother, sitting there imagining her son being in this situation.
I know.
And when we see what happened to Tua, and we see other young men getting concussed and stumbling around, and then it progresses to, the severity of what we're watching here in a national audience here tonight.
Right.
If I'm most of the women that I was around as a young man growing up and still am around, they will not encourage their children to play this game watching.
But Jackie, that's already happening. It's already happening with concussion stuff, with people not wanting. I mean, I've watched from when Peyton played football to what's happened over the last 4 or 5 years, where parents just don't want their little boys to play football because of what may happen.
Right.
There's definitely been a reduction in Pop Warner football and that
Absolutely.
level of football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But man, Wanakani got paralysis, and the guy from Detroit, whose name I can't remember right now.
Right. I remember that.
But it's never been like this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is. I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but it's heartbreaking.
It is.
Right.
It really is hard to watch.
And it's such a great sport. It's such a fun sport. So it's a bummer.
Well, not to change the subject, but I would like to ask Dave's opinion on what New Year's resolution he has for the Rams. So
for the Rams?
The Rams are out of the playoffs, Dave. And they've got Baker Mayfield, but Jackie and I were talking about Matthew Stafford, and if his injury is such that he can't return to the lineup this year, it's not like a normal injury. I mean, it doesn't matter what type of offensive line he has in front of him, he's going to get hit no matter what.
Absolutely.
And if he takes a hit, that might be the end. And maybe it's time for him to call it quits. I don't know. But what's your resolution? Do you have any resolution?
Well, so I would, as you know, I told you Vince a couple weeks ago. So Baker Mayfield comes into my little bar all the time, so I've gotten to know him. I would love him to stay with the Rams, but if they stay with Matthew Stafford, he's too good to stay with the Rams as a backup, right? I mean, Tennessee needs a quarterback. As you know, the Raiders need a quarterback. There's places for him to go. I would love it if he stayed here.
Yeah, well, I happen to agree. We talked both, and we both like Baker Mayfield. I mean, we like the way he moves around, his
mobility,
the nature,
his decision making, all
of
that. There's so much about Baker Mayfield in Sean McVay's system that I think we've grown to like in the last couple of weeks. That
works, 100%.
The man hadn't been here 3 days, and he started a ball game. And then he said, "I'm home" after they won the game. It's almost as if he feels destined to be here. Now, the other thing that Vince and I have been bumping around with these two guys is that Matthew Stafford. I love Matthew Stafford from the pocket when he's healthy, but Matthew Stafford is 10 years older than Baker Mayfield.
That's correct.
Matthew Stafford.
Yes.
Matthew Stafford. His injury. Apparently was so severe that they couldn't differentiate from concussion protocol to the fact that he had some sort of a nerve issue in his neck. That sounds pretty serious to me.
And I agree with you.
And I don't know that if he takes another shot, that he's not beyond concussed and dealing with some more serious type of injuries. So I think that what has to happen. And I think everybody who's watched Sean McVay has had a positive impact since he's been on the Rams. I mean, not Sean McVay. I'm talking Baker Mayfield has had he's had a positive impact ever since he's been on the team, ever since he's been here. So you got to figure, okay, well, Sean McVay seems to like the guy. He played well. He set the percentage completion record for the Rams in the history of the game a couple of weeks ago. Why would Sean McVay not look at this situation and figure out a way to keep Baker Mayfield? Now, the only problem that I see, David, and you addressed it Okay, and that is the fact that Baker Mayfield wants to play, and he's probably ready to play. So, and then the other thing is that we haven't talked about is, Matthew Stafford's contract. What do you
Exactly.
So you throw away $40-50 million? I don't think you do that. So it's a dilemma. It's a problem. It's probably a good problem to have, especially in light of the fact that quarterback position is so critical. But like Vince said, I mean, if he's got nerve issues going on in his neck, and I don't think they're going to have 5 guys playing like as well as Rob Havenstein plays at all 5 positions this time next year.
Well, I think it's a lot more serious than most people think, because I don't think Matt Stafford is the type of player that would turn his back to his team.
I don't either.
When they need a leader,
I
even when the going
agree.
gets tough.
Especially
if he's out, I think he's going to be out for good.
He showed us his toughness this past summer.
Yeah.
Vince, he hit someone on the helmet with his thumb, and everybody was all in a panic. And 2 days later, or the next day, he was out practicing and throwing the football with a swollen thumb. So this guy is tough, and we know that. So, like Vince said, that's got to be something more serious than what we even are.
Well, we have to talk about a little positive note here, Dave. We're going to see the NFL now go into their last game, 18th week, which would be their 17th game, and we've seen the Eagles lose 2 games straight.
Yes.
Now they don't. Who do you like? Who do you like moving forward? What NFC and AFC teams?
So the Eagles are playing. The Eagles are playing the Giants, and I still love the Eagles because Hurts is going to play. Everything's going to be back.
Okay.
The good news for everybody is that Hurts is going to play all of Week 18 because everybody, so many people opt out of Week 18, and now we don't know what's going to go on with Buffalo on Week 18.
Absolutely.
So you maybe see Josh Allen and Diggs and the whole team on 18.
And you might see the Patriots play their way right into the playoffs.
See the Patriots. So in fact, Jackie, I don't know who doesn't play next week. I really don't know. I mean, who's a lock? Does Mahomes play? I mean, Kansas City's not a lock. They're still playing for number 1 seed, right?
Yeah. I think you got to play your guys.
Well, there's two open spots in the AFC, only one in the NFC. So it's either in the NFC, it's either if the Packers win, if they beat the Lions at home, they're in. It doesn't matter if Seattle wins, and Seattle is another team that can make it in as well. So,
but the NFC is so exciting right now. Just the fact that the entire NFC East can still be in the playoffs is
everybody
is
except the
to me.
Commanders.
No, the Commanders still aren't.
They're out.
They're not out.
Yeah, they're out.
No, they're not out.
Yeah,
Are
they're
they
definitely out? They're out mathematically.
Mathematically, I think they're out.
They're out.
Dang it! Because yesterday when I saw it before the night game,
right? If they won yesterday, it would have been different.
Yeah, if they'd won, it would have been, and of course the Commanders. But still, the NFC East shocked everybody this year by being really good. And Dallas has a chance to be the number 1 team, number 1 seed. They're still in for number 1 seed. I like Dallas. I like the 49ers. Yeah. Those are my 2 favorite teams in NFC.
I agree.
And the AFC, I mean, the Cincinnati is tough. The Bills are tough. The Chiefs are tough. So
so guys, who's a better conference this year, the NFC or the AFC?
Well, I don't know head to head.
I think the NFC is better.
Well, that's a good question.
That is a good question.
I haven't even thought about that.
Question.
I can tell you most of the
you got
quarterbacks
Dallas,
in the
you got
AFC.
Philadelphia, you got the Giants. I mean, you got
Detroit
coming.
You got Detroit, who's amazing.
Yeah.
You got San Francisco, who can't
Tampa.
Lose.
Right.
Yeah. I think the NFC has more quality teams than the AFC does.
Well, I mean, the most exciting games I've seen, Dave, this year have been the Bills. Every time the Bills played, they played. They were going to play Cincinnati tonight. They played Miami. I mean, Miami was a good team. I mean, there's so many good teams. I mean, now you even look at Cleveland and with Deshaun Watson. I mean, they're starting to play. They won last week. We didn't. Neither one of us picked them to win, and now they're starting to get back.
The top three teams in the AFC, though, Dave. The top 3 teams in the AFC.
So Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati.
They are playing really good football at that special position, the quarterback spot. They can beat you there.
They're better than Philadelphia, San Francisco, and Dallas. I don't know, Jackie. I don't know.
Well, that's why they watch the game, Dave.
They're pretty
These playoffs
they're
are gonna
pretty
be-
good. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
They're top
yeah,
3 AFC teams.
Yes, yeah, they're all pretty good. So
Well,
The
at
team
least
that
after
sca-
next week,
I hate
we'll
to
know who's in
admit
the
this.
playoffs.
I hate to admit this, but the team that scares me to death is 49ers. And you know I hate the 49ers.
the
with a passion.
the 49
the Packers don't
49
I hate the
Don't scare you at all?
49ers with a passion you wouldn't believe, but
Oh, I
these
know
guys
you
are
do.
just
I know
flat
you do, but they're on
playing
fire.
ball, man.
Well, I have to agree with Jackie because Brock Purdy last week, Dave, what a close game
Unbelievable.
against the Raiders, and he drove them down the last 2 minutes of the game. That's when you define the
Brock
quarterback
Purdy.
position. And
Purdy.
he's making good
Brock-
decisions,
Brock-
Jackie, and throwing
Brock
the ball
Purdy
well.
is-
Mr.
And they're
Irrelevant,
playing without
the
Deebo
last guy
Samuel.
drafted.
Now, Dave,
Brock-
who's your
Brock
favorite
Purdy's-
wide receiver? Who's your favorite wide receiver, real quick?
Mine,
Yes.
still Stephon Diggs is my favorite.
I
Hey,
like Stephon
Vince
Diggs.
likes
Good.
Stephon
We
as
like
well.
Justin
Yeah.
Jefferson. We like, and we like.
Well, just Jefferson's
Cooper Kupp.
amazing.
Hey,
Cooper Kupp's
what
hurt,
about,
but-
what about Cooper Kupp?
Oh yeah,
Well, he's not playing, so who knows?
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I
But,
think Cooper Kupp has to be in the conversation nowadays when you start talking about the best receiver. Remember,
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
won the Triple Crown just a year ago. He just off.
Jackie,
And if you
you
look at
like
the
to write
hey, look, and if you look at the numbers, that he was putting
Yeah.
up this year, he was on his way to another one.
Yeah,
And no
but-
doubt about it.
He was putting up
Correct.
good numbers.
The
so he got
most
hurt.
underestimated big time football player I think I've ever seen.
I know it. I know.
Who's Cooper? Cooper Kupp.
Cooper
Cooper
Kupp.
Cup. Yep. He just as
Dude,
Oh.
I got to ask you, Jackie. I got to go to college football. What did you think of Tulane coming back and beating USC today? Was that not amazing?
Oh, it was unbelievable.
Was that not amazing?
Let's see what
Because they
what-
wanted
oh.
it. They wanted it more.
Wasn't there a 15-point lead with like
3 minutes.
3 minutes to
left.
go?
wow.
3 minutes left. And then-
15-point lead with 3 minutes, Vince, and they came back and beat them.
They came back and
And
beat
then-
SC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
kidding
Tulane,
me.
and then Tulane had a 72-yard 3-play drive, then a safety, and then they won on the last play of the game.
Unbelievable.
But Tulane,
The
last
Tulane-
play of
Those
the
kids,
game.
those kids are gonna be. They're gonna take that to their grave, talking
man.
about we went there and beat it. We beat SC, and then they had the Heisman Trophy winner,
I
and
know it.
and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we beat them. They were leading us.
Wow.
Oh man, that's gonna be a
Ah.
story
Yeah.
for the ages.
Man.
Well, it has been a great weekend for college football too, pro and college football.
It
But
has.
sadly, tonight we'll see what happens. But,
Well, national championship game is going to be a big game too, Dave. That TCU is.
Dude,
And how about Georgia? Georgia's
Uh,
quarterback was a
Mark-
walk-on
what?
A
quarterback.
walk.
mark my word tonight, guys. TCU is winning that game.
You know what?
But
They are tough.
TCU is
They
winning
are
that
tough.
We
game.
got some ballers.
They have
man.
they've had to win. They've had to fight every
Every-
game
And
this
they-
year.
every
And
game.
everyone
Ohio
has said they
State
were going to
they
lose
know
this
how-
game.
I never seen
Yeah.
a quarterback play as good as the quarterback from Ohio State played in that
It
game,
was
Jackie, and they
unbelievable.
still
CJ
beat
They
us.
Stroud?
still beat them.
Yeah, CJ Stroud. I mean,
But I don't know. Max Duggan. TCU was amazing. TCU completely outplayed Michigan.
that's going to be a great game next week. Although I'm not
really
a
is.
big fan of the Final Four, I'd rather just see that played in bowl games. But
I know.
sometimes we get a little bit too much football. But fans will probably disagree with me on that one.
We'll talk about that next week because apparently
All
it's
right.
very easy.
Sounds
for me
good.
to
Join
get
us
through your
again
line.
next week,
So-
Dave. That sounds
Yeah, I
awesome.
will do.
Hey, Dave.
All right,
You guys,
Thank
thanks
you
for
very much
calling.
calling.
All right,
We'll
my
talk to you
pleasure.
soon, buddy. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Happy New Year.
All right. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.
Well, Jackie, that's what a story. I don't know if they're going to resume this game or not, Jackie. And it's.
I don't know if I feel much like watching any more football tonight. Vince.
I think it could be over, but for us here on OnPoint, Jackie, it's always fun to visit and talk about give the viewers at home our opinions and
Right.
our past experiences. How we played the game. Of course, the game has changed a bit, especially the rules, and that's why it's more wide open football. But
Mhm.
we hope that things like this don't happen again.
Right.
I
Don't
hope
want to see it.
I hope it's not anything to do with the field surface that they're playing on today. And years ago we played nothing but grass fields, but there's more and more field turf fields, artificial turf,
Right.
and let's hope
It just makes for a faster,
Just-
more
yeah.
explosive game.
it really does.
It makes for a faster, more explosive athlete
It
at
does.
all the positions, Vince.
Right.
And I'm watching the young man when Damar Hamlin was hit.
Yes,
It wasn't like he's a defensive back, and usually they're the ones that are leveling out
receivers.
laying out the blows.
right.
But in this particular case, he was on the receiving end of a 6'4", 216-pound wide receiver that was running hard and lowered his shoulder right into his sternum,
Right.
and then he was on the receiving end of that blow, and then he jumped up, and then he immediately collapsed.
But a totally legal hit. I mean, he was just trying to do his job as the receiver. And I bet anyone here feels just as bad about this as anyone would
Yeah,
be. The
well,
receiver would
TJ
feel bad, but
Higgins is
Yeah.
the one that ran into him, and
Right.
he's got to be feeling worse of it.
yeah,
of
I know.
all to
But, I mean,
anybody.
it's not his fault that this happened the way it did. I mean, he's just playing football the way it was meant to be played. But so they're still talking about it, on Monday Night Football. But we just want to remind all our viewers back home that keep watching OnPoint, and if you have any comments or questions, please do call in. And if you direct them, if you want to call in live on our show, please do so. We can try to feed you in on the system. We have a few people that like to call each and every week.
Mhm.
And Jackie, you've always been a big advocate of talking to the viewers, and always had time to talk to your fans. And so this is a great opportunity for us to do that.
It is, and you enjoyed it. I know
Yeah.
you do, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it as well. But I want to, just before we leave here, I just want to encourage everybody to understand the game that we love has risk, and we're seeing it right now. As a young man is over there in Buffalo fighting for his life. So if you really love this game and the players, your particular players, say a prayer for them. Ask the good Lord to keep them safe and healthy, and that this game will be played clean and hard, and that we can have fun enjoying it, watching our team win, watching our team suffer defeat and come back. So that's what it's all about. It's not about anybody just, getting seriously hurt like this situation has come up tonight. And I just would encourage you as fans to remember that, these guys are humans, just like human beings, just like you, and have families, and they need support also, especially during times like this. So let's all make sure we say a prayer for them today.
Yeah. Let's pray for those that need the help. And we encourage you to continue to watch us. Thank you for joining in tonight on OnPoint Live. And we'll be back again next week for the final week of the NFL, and then on into the playoffs. So continue to watch us, and Happy New Year to everybody, and continue with your prayers. Thank you for watching.